Evans the Death, the undertaker, laughs high and aloud in his sleep, and curls up his toes as he sees, upon waking 50 years ago, snow lie deep on the goose field behind the sleeping house. And he runs out into the field where his mother is making Welsh cakes in the snow, and steals a fistful of snowflakes and currants, and climbs back to bed to eat them cold and sweet under the warm white clothes, while his mother dances in the snow kitchen, crying out for her lost currants. And in the little pink-eyed cottage next to the undertaker's lie alone the 17 snoring, gentle stone of Mr. Waldo, rabbit catcher, barber, herbalist, cat doctor, quack, his fat pink hands palms up over the edge of the patchwork quilt, his black boots neat and tidy in the washing basin, his bowler on a nail above the bed, a milk stout and a slice of cold bread pudding under the pillow, and, dripping in the dark, he dreams of...
This little piggy went to market, this little piggy stayed at home, this little piggy had roast beef, this little piggy had none, and this little piggy went...
Wee.
all the way home to...
Waldo!
Yes, Blodwyn, love?
Oh, what'll the neighbours say? What'll the neighbours?
Poor Mrs. Waldo, what she puts up with. Never should have married if she didn't have to. Same as her mother. There's a husband for you. Bad as his father. And you know where he ended. Up in the asylum. Crying for his ma. Every Saturday. He hasn't got a leg. And carrying on. With that Mrs. B.T. Morris. Up in the quarry. And seen her baby. It's got his nose. Oh, it makes my heart bleed. What he'll do for drink. He sold the pianola. And her sewing machine. Falling in the gutter. Talking to the lamppost. Using language. Singing in the W. Poor Mrs. Waldo.
Oh, Waldo.
Hush, love, hush. I'm widower Waldo now.
Waldo?
Yes, our ma'am?
Oh, what'll the neighbours say? What'll the neighbours?
Black as a chimbley,
Ringing doorbells.
breaking windows,
Making mud pies.
stealing currants.
Talking words.
Saw him in the bushes,
Playing muchins.
send him to bed without any supper.
Give him senapod and lock him in the dark.
Off to the reformatory,
Off to the reformatory.
learn him with a slipper on his BTM.
Waldo? What you doing with our Matty?
Give us a kiss, Matty, Richard.
Give us a penny then.
I only got a halfpenny.
Lips is a penny.
Will you take this woman, Matty Richards?
Dulcie Prothero.
Effie Bevan.
Lil the glue pot.
Mrs. Flusher.
Blodwyn Bowen.
To be your awful wedded wife?
No!
Now, in her iceberg white, holily laundered crinoline nightgown, under virtuous polar sheets, in her spruced and scoured, dust-defying bedroom in trig and trim Bayview, a house for paying guests at the top of the town, Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard, widow, twice, of Mr. Ogmore, linoleum, retired, and Mr. Pritchard, failed bookmaker, who, maddened by bezooming, swabbing and scrubbing, the voice of the vacuum cleaner and the fume of polish, ironically swallowed disinfectant, fidgets in her rinsed sleep, wakes in a dream, and nudges in the ribs. Dead, Mr. Ogmore. Dead, Mr. Pritchard. Ghostly on either side.
Mr. Ogmore, Mr. Pritchard, it is time to inhale your balsam.
Oh, Mrs. Ogmore. Oh, Mrs. Pritchard.
Soon it will be time to get up. Tell me your tasks, in order.
I must put my pyjamas in the drawer marked pyjamas. I must take my cold bath, which is good for me. I must wear my flannel band to ward off sciatica. I must dress behind the curtain and put on my apron. I must blow my nose
In the garden, if you please.
in a piece of tissue paper which I afterwards burn. I must take my salts, which are nature's friend. I must boil the drinking water because of germs. I must make my herb tea, which is free from tannin, and have a charcoal biscuit, which is good for me. I may smoke 1 pipe of asthma mixture,
In the woodshed, if you please.
and dust the parlour and spray the canary. I must put on rubber gloves and search the peak for fleas. I must dust the blinds, and then I must raise them.
And before you let the sun in, mind it wipes its shoes.
In Butcher Bynan's, Gossamer Bynan, daughter, schoolteacher, dreaming deep, daintily ferrets under a fluttering hummock of chicken's feathers in a slaughterhouse that has chintz curtains and a three-piece suite, and finds, with no surprise, a small, rough, ready man with a bushy tail winking in a paper carrier.
At last, my love.
Sighs Gossamer Bynan, and the bushy tail wags rude and ginger.
Help!
Cries Organ Morgan the organist in his dreams.
There is perturbation and music in Coronation Street. All the spouses are honking like geese, and the baby's singing opera. P.C. Attila Reese has got his truncheon out, and is playing cadenzas by the pump. The cows from Sunday Meadow ring like reindeer. And on the roof of Handel Villa, see the women's welfare hoofing bloomered in the moon.
At the sea end of town, Mr. and Mrs. Floyd, the Cocklers, are sleeping as quiet as death, side by wrinkle side, toothless, salt and brown, like two old kippers in a box. And high above, in Salt Lake Farm, Mr. Utah Watkins counts all night the white-faced sheep as they leap the fences on the hill, smiling and knitting and bleating, just like Mrs. Utah Watkins.
34, 35, 36, 48, 89.
Knit one, slip one, knit two together, pass the slip stitch over.
Hockey Milkman, drowned asleep in Cockle Street, is emptying his churns into the Dewey River.
Regardless of expense.
And weeping like a funeral. Cherry Owen next door lifts a tankard to his lips, but nothing flows out of it. He shakes the tankard. It turns into a fish. He drinks the fish. P.C. Attila Reese lumps out of bed, dead to the dark and still foghorning, and drags out his helmet from under the bed. But deep in the backyard lock-up of his sleep, a mean voice murmurs, "You'll be sorry for this in the morning." And he heave-hoes back to bed. His helmet swashes in the dark. Willy-nilly postman, asleep up street, walks 14 miles to deliver the post, as he does every day of the night, and rat-a-tats hard and sharp on Mrs. Willy-nilly.
Don't spank me, please, teacher.
Whimpers his wife at his side. But every night of her married life she has been late for school. Sinbad sailors over the taproom of the Sailor's Arms hugs his damp pillow, whose secret name is
Gossamer Bynan.
A Mogul catches Lily Smalls in the washhouse.
Oh, you old Morgan!
Mrs. Rose Cottage's eldest, May, peels off her pink and white skin in a furnace, in a tower, in a cave, in a waterfall, in a wood, and waits there, raw as an onion, for Mr. Right to leap up the burning, tall, hollow splashes of leaves like a brilliantine trout.
Call me Dolores, like they do in the stories.
Alone until she dies, Bessie Bighead, hired help, born in the workhouse, smelling of the cowshed, snores, bass and gruff, on a couch of straw in a loft in Salt Lake Farm, and picks a posy of daisies in Sunday Meadow to put on the grave of Gomer Owen, who kissed her once by the pigsty when she wasn't looking, and never kissed her again, although she was looking all the time.